Well, I've enjoyed the debate tremendously tonight, and I hope that you have as well. In my final statement, I want to say something more about religious experience, because I myself wasn't raised in a Christian home or even a church-going family. But when I became a teenager, I began to ask what I call the big questions in life. What's the purpose of my existence? What is the meaning of life? And in the answer, in the search for answers, I began to attend a local church in our community. But instead of answers, all I found was a sort of social country club where the dues were $1 a week in the offering plate. And the other student who claimed to be Christians on Sunday lived for their real God the rest of the week, which was popularity. And that really bothered me because I thought, here I feel so spiritually empty inside, and yet I'm living externally a better life than these people are, and they claim to be Christians. They're all a bunch of hypocrites. And so I became very bitter toward the institutional church. And soon this attitude spread toward other people. I said, they're all hypocrites. They're all phonies. And I wanted nothing to do with them. I threw myself into my studies. I was on my way to becoming, frankly, a very alienated young man. And I don't know if you know what this is like, but this sort of anger and despair just eats away at your insides day after day, making every day miserable, another day to get through. And I walked into my high school German class one day and sat down behind a girl who's one of these types, that's always so happy. It just makes you sick. And I tapped her on the shoulder, and she turned around, and I said to her, Sandy, what are you always so happy about anyway? And she said, well, Bill, it's because I know Jesus Christ as my personal Savior. And I said, well, I go to church. And she said, that's not enough, Bill. You've got to have him really living in your heart. And I said, well, what would you want to do a thing like that for? And she said, because he loves you, Bill. And that hit me like a ton of bricks, that the God of the universe would care about me and love me. That lit a fire within me. I began to read the New Testament. And as I did so, I was captivated by the person of Jesus of Nazareth. There was a ring of truth about his teachings and an authenticity about his life that I couldn't deny. Well, to make a long story short, after about 6 months of the most intense soul searching, I realized the reason God seemed so unreal to me was because I was alienated from him through my own moral failure and sin. And at the end of those 6 months, I simply cried out to God and yielded my life to him. And as I did so, I felt this tremendous infusion of joy, like a balloon being blown up until it was ready to burst. I rushed outside. It was a warm evening. You could see the Milky Way from horizon to horizon. And I thought, God, I've come to know God. And God became a living reality for me in that moment, a reality that I've walked with now for year by year for over 30 years. And I believe this is a reality that anyone can find who will seek him with an open heart and an open mind. As we've looked at the arguments tonight, I think there are clearly good arguments for existence of God. And the arguments on the other side, I think, are not at all compelling. I find that Christian faith, Christian relationship with God meets not only the demands of my head, but also the demands of my heart. And if you were to ask me why I believe in God, I would give you not only the arguments from the beginning of the universe, the fine-tuning, the existence of objective moral values, the historical evidence for the resurrection of Jesus, but also the undeniable reality of his presence in my own life, a reality that I think any of us can find if we will simply seek him with an open mind and an open heart. And so I would encourage you to do just that.